to Airplane Talk. We're glad to have you come out. Mary called this morning about 8:15 and she says, "Is it still on?"
I did.
I told her that we're like the post office, rain, sleet, whatever, we just keep going, don't we? Will you say something, Mary? We'd like to check that mic out.
What can I say? What should I say?
It's okay.
Okay, if you use that much volume, we're good.
Okay.
But the hour is hers, and I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. We're excited to have her here today, and so we'll just turn the mic over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think I will start out back in the dark ages when I was a kid. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. I was a flight instructor in California, and at that time, I was sort of engaged to an American in the Royal Air Force, and then Pearl Harbor. He tried to get me to go over to England because the British women were flying military aircraft, and this is a list of the different ones that I flew when I was over there. So I tried to go, and our State Department refused to give me a passport. Little louder?
We've got people that are saying they can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can adjust this again.
Okay. On this one?
No, just keep talking.
Okay. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyhow, along came Pearl Harbor, and Jackie Cochran figured American women can fly and give our Air Force some support. So she tried, and our Air Force was very chauvinistic, and they said, "Women can't fly military aircraft, don't be so stupid." So she knew that the British women were doing it, and so she got an okay from the British to bring 25 of us over as a test group. And so I was lucky enough to be in that group. And so we went to Montreal to check out in a T6 to see if we could transfer over into that type of aircraft. And most of us did, and so we got on the ship and went to England. And on the ship going over, the radio operator was a girl, a Canadian girl. It was a Norwegian fruit boat, 3,000 tons, a small boat. And we were very excited and not at all afraid of submarines and things until we didn't run into, till we saw I can't think of the word, a floating mine with the little things sticking out of it. And they tried to shoot at it, and luckily they missed, because if they'd hit it, we'd have been sky high. So anyway, so we got to England all right, and then went down on the train to London, and were given our new uniforms and so forth. The boy that I was engaged to was already there, and so we were married on the 17th of August, and on the 17th of October he went missing, and they never found him or any of his crew. And I was very grateful to be in England at that time, because everybody was losing husbands and brothers and sons and so forth, so that I didn't dare feel sorry for flying, So things carried on from there, and these different aircraft that I flew, the first four were mostly just learning the different routes that we would carry on, and the rest of them just as they came up. That's the way they came up, and okay. The way that they trained us, we did not have a training like the WASPs did, because Jackie Cochran came back later and started the WASPs. The WASPs apparently went through all the regular Air Force training. Well, we were just billeted in private homes, and it was much nicer like that. In fact, had I known about the WASPs, I'm glad that I didn't come back to join the WASPs. But anyhow, from then on, then I worked on these different types of aircraft, and it's hard to really fit into that and fit into a talk about it, because there were all the different kinds, and we just went. Some of the things that happened, there was one girl who was flying a Spitfire, and the engine quit, and she came down and left one wing in the front garden with the roof of the house, and the other wing as she hit a fence, and there was nothing left but this little the little fuselage, and she was not hurt, but she was hurt. So she got out of the airplane, and somebody came running up, and she said, "Guard the airplane," and she collapsed. And so I'm trying to remember some of the other funny things that have happened. Another time, going to the dentist's office was in the country home that belonged to Lady Astor, who was from Virginia actually, but she married Lord Astor, and they gave up their home to be a dental clinic and a medical clinic and so forth, and like a hospital, and they used the whole thing for medical purposes. And this one pilot was in there, and this Lady Astor came in one day and said, "Good morning, how are you?" And this girl said, "I'm fine, thank you, how are you?" And so the pilot said, What's your name?" And she said, "I'm Lady Astor." And the girl said, "Well, I'm Eleanor Roosevelt, how are you?" So, anyhow, I'll think some more. I'm trying to think of the airplanes, and actually, what? I know I've got a card. But that's post-war. Yes, these are all post-war. Yeah, the Bullfighter, which is the fourth one down on the third row there, was a lovely twin-engine fighter. It was a beautiful little thing, and all of these we flew by ourselves. I mean, these are all me only. And the Bullfighter, I shot up a train one day. There was a train going down the track, and I couldn't resist, so I just went down and pushed it. But anyway, we didn't really do a lot of this kind of thing. The airport where I was stationed, is that still on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The airport where I was stationed was just a little one. It was a 500-yard runway, the long way. And different people, I didn't bring in a P-38, but somebody brought in a P-38 from there. And we brought all sorts of things into there. We took all sorts of Spitfires and Hurricanes and things like that in and out of that airport. And people afterwards used to say, "How could you do that?" Well, we just did. We didn't have. Is that better? No? There. Oh, okay. I don't know what I was going to say. No. Oh, the kind of training that we had. I've got my daughter here. She's giving me a little helpful hints from time to time. Um, People said, how did you fly all these different kinds of aircraft? What they did was they gave us actual training in 3 different kinds of single and twin engine fighters. And the rest, we had little tiny handling notes alphabetically by the type of aircraft. But it was, no.
Do this every week.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that better?
Okay, try that.
Is that better? Okay. We had these little tiny handling notes.
You'll have to stay quiet.
Okay. Um, and each one for each type of aircraft that anybody in the whole outfit could use. That included things from the simplest little single engine thing like an Oster or a Manchester, or everything up to Lancasters and this kind of thing, the 4-engine ones. And with these, it gave the takeoff, climb, cruise, the emergency putting down of the gear, which the British, well, they have different names for everything, and all the other different little things that you need to know were on these handling notes. Okay. And so that, except for the first time that you flew, no.
Get rid of those. Why are you using the throat?
Sorry about this.
That's okay. Oh, that's a good place. Is that better?
Need to cut the other mic off. Yeah, cut one of the mics off.
You what?
Take one of the mics off. Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. Okay. These handling notes were what you used to fly whatever you were flying, except for the first time that you ever took a different one that you hadn't flown before. And at that time, they would give you these bigger handling notes that was much more detailed, and you read that, and then you just got in and went. And out of all these kinds, the only things that I ever had any actual training in were the Miles Master and the Hudson, and I think the Wellington, yeah. And other than that, it was just, touch and go, and then you went. Okay. It's good to have a helper here. And there are a couple of pictures that Pam can show you. Yeah. Oops. This is the group that I went to Montreal with. This girl on the left is Opal Pearl Anderson, and she is a very funny girl. She had to be a grease monkey to learn how to fly in Chicago before the war. And the other girls, I won't introduce you to all those girls. But anyhow, I'm the third from the right over here. Okay. These are 3 American girls and 1 Polish girl. The girl on the second from the right is Jadwiga Pilsudska, whose father was the president of Poland. And then I'm on the right. And then there's one more. And that's just me. Okay. Okay, that's all. With Opal Pearl Anderson, I have to tell you a couple of funny stories because she couldn't get through a single word without swearing, and so I have to apologize in advance for what I'm going to say. um, First of all, we were billeted in this private home of Sir Lindsay and Lady Everard, which was a big country mansion, and they still live there, of course, and they had between 8 and 14 of us living in there, and we used to eat dinner with the family, the big baronial dining hall with all of the paintings of horses and things around the whole, around the walls. And Smart the butler used to stand behind Sir Lindsay, and the footman used to stand behind Lady Everard. And there were different ones of us up and down the table. And this one night, we had what the cook called coffee cream for dessert. And it was beautiful, you know, it looked lovely. And each one of us took some and you know, we didn't eat it until everybody had been served, and then he took one bite and it was so bad, it was just like pure cornstarch. And most of us put our spoons down and hoped that people didn't notice that we weren't eating. But Opal took one bite and banged the spoon on the table and said, "Jesus Christ, what the hell is this stuff?" Smart the butler, who was standing behind Sir Lindsay, who had never broken decorum before, just burst into laughter. He couldn't help it. Oh, goodness. And this same girl, Opal Pearl, when she went to London, it was the time of the buzz bombs. And I don't know how much you know about that, but the V1s were pretty bad because you couldn't hear them coming, and then all of a sudden, a big boom and you were gone. But the V2s, the buzz bombs, you could hear them coming. And you'd go, oh, 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 and it'd get closer and closer. And as soon as it stopped, you could count about 1, 2, 3, and then a big boom would take place. Well, Opal was at the Red Cross house that they had put aside for us, and she was at this place and was trying to go to sleep, and she heard this thing come, and it went, and it didn't stop. And she said, "Jesus Christ, I thought I was going to smell my flowers on my first bomb." And so anyway, that was the first one that they ever actually got intact. It fell into the pond in Hyde Park. You know, what? Oh, yeah, excuse me. The serpentine. Yeah, it fell into the Serpentine in Hyde Park, and they got that one intact so that they were able to do something with it and find out, you know, how it worked. So that finishes the stories about Opal. She actually lived through the war, and she just died a couple of years ago. And she was I think 35 or something during the war, so she was pretty old. But I guess I was the baby of that group. What? Oh. Anyhow, then after my first husband went missing, I just carried on bravely, as the British would say, and came home on leave, and came home on the Aquitania, and that was quite an exciting trip, except that it was there were not submarines to worry about and so forth. Then I came back as co-pilot with RAF Transport Command, and ran into Jack Ford in Greenland, and we decided to get together. after he came up, after we got both back to England, and so we did. And quite a few months later, then we were married. And that sounds like pretty close to when Wes went missing, but it wasn't really, because in wartime, well, a lot of you people know that in wartime, time does not seem like it really is. It goes by so much faster. And so anyhow, we were married in this little church in Ratcliffe on the Reek, which is the name of the town where Sir Lindsay's and Lady Everett's house was. And the wedding was kind of it was a comedy. Well, okay. Well, you don't know about this. She wasn't born yet. Okay. There were a bunch of pilots, and most of the pilots are fairly not religious, shall we say. And so the the minister's wife was sitting in the front of the church, and as I walked up with my bouquet in my hand, she said, "You have to give me your bouquet, you can't carry it, you know." So I handed it to her, and then got up to the altar, and Jack was there, of course, and I had on these high-heeled shoes, which I didn't usually wear, and I had on a tight gown, which I didn't usually wear, and I guess, I don't know if I can tell the rest. No, I thought it was anyway. Anyhow, when we went back to Radcliffe Hall after that, for the wedding reception, what we had for a cake was a little Christmas cake that had arrived late. This was in February 5th, 1944. So we had that. It was something that one of the girls from New Zealand had gotten as a Christmas present, and it had arrived late. And so we had that, and then one of the girls had been able to buy a lot of champagne for us, which is pretty hard to come by, but she knew where to go. So that took care of that. Then after that, I used to sometimes fly into Jack's base. He was 8th Air Force. Well, he was, I can't remember it's 8th Air Force first, and then Army Air Corps. No, Army Air Corps first. Okay, he was Army Air Corps, which became 8th Air Force, and I used to fly into his base and just to see him and so forth. And after that, we saw each other as often as possible. Smart the butler.
What's that? Turn it on, maybe it's too close.
Oh, okay. I'm leaning on it.
Okay.
I'll try not to lean on it. Smart the butler used to be able to take care of just anything for us. So if we needed extra money to go to London, he came up with it. Or if we needed a uniform pressed right away, he came up with it. This place that we lived in Ratcliffe on the Reek, Ratcliffe Hall was the name of it. It was really a huge mansion. I've got pictures of it here you can see afterwards. So Smart used to just be the answer to everything. Also, Smart the butler had a wife who was very good, and she used to do our laundry for us. And so this room that I had there was just a little room with just a bed and a wash basin and a place to hang the clothes and things like that. And so he had taken some blouses for his wife to launder for me, and used to knock on the way coming in. The British always did that. I mean, they used to. They would knock on the way in because, in theory, the British servants were not people. They, they didn't count, so that it didn't matter, what they saw when they came in. Well, I was standing. He used to come and draw the blackout curtains, and then he'd go away. I didn't know he was going to bring the laundry back, and so he knocked on the way in as I was standing stark naked in front of the wash basin, and I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my towel and sank to the floor and hoped that the floor would open up, but it didn't do it. Anyhow, he looked me in the eye, he put the blouses down on the bed and said, please give me back the box because Mrs. Smart will need it again. And he went out. So, anyhow, the whole situation over there just was like that from one week to the next. And I was just grateful to be stationed at that particular place because they had quite a number of other smaller places. They weren't as small as Ratcliffe, but they were small. And like I said, it wasn't like Air Force where with the WASPs where you went and had to do all the calisthenics and this kind of thing. Little girl, is she okay? Oh, okay, okay. But anyway, oh, I'm sorry, Pam. Are you sure? Okay, okay. So these kinds of things went on for the rest of the time that I was there, and I finally came home in September of 1944, and Jack came home in November of 1944, and at that time he was stationed at San Bernardino, and I decided that I would go out there also, and I got pregnant when I was there. But anyhow, he decided that he would start an aircraft delivery company to deliver airplanes all over the world. Am I leaning on him again? Okay. Is that still okay? Okay. And he started this delivery company, and we started out delivering airplanes mostly for de Havilland's in England,